Hi, boys and girls. This is Grandma Sheilla with another story for you. The story is called Listen to the Angel. Well, the 6th grade class was just as excited as kids could be. It was getting close to Christmas, and their class had been just interrupted by the principal, and he came in to tell Miss Webb, the teacher, that he wanted the 6th grade class to do one number in the Christmas program that was going to be held at the high school in the auditorium. Well, the kids, they couldn't hardly contain themselves. I mean, it's exciting to be in a program. Well, after the principal left, the teacher said, well, what should we do? Well, there was all kinds of suggestions from the students. One girl said, I know, let's sing carols. And the teacher said, I'm sorry, but I happen to know that the 8th grade class is going to sing carols. Then another girl said, let's have somebody do a reading up front about Christmas. Then Miss Webb, the teacher, she said, no, we want to do something when all of you can be involved. And then Georgia, she came up with a winner. She turned to the class and she said, I know what. Let's have Anna draw a Christmas picture up front, and then let's have Jerry play his violin. He could play Silent Night. That's one we all know. We could have Rhoda read the Christmas story, the one that talks about the shepherds in the field. She could read the whole Christmas story, and then the class could sing Silent Night at the end. Well, everybody was excited about that, except for one person. And she started getting a really funny, awful feeling in her stomach. And she said, Miss Webb, I can't do it. I can't draw a picture up front. I get too scared. I can't do it. Well, all the 6th graders looked at her in surprise. And one of the boys said, Anne, you draw the best pictures. They're beautiful, and you can do it fast. Please, for the 6th grade, do it. You know we can only do one thing. Please. But Anne, she got scareder and scareder. And she said, I can't do it. Stop asking me. I can't. I don't want to. Well, the teacher, Miss Webb, she looked around at the students and she said, Anne, it's time that you stopped being afraid. All of us are going to be up on the stage with you. There's nothing to be afraid of. But Anne said, I can't. Well, after Anne said that, Miss Webb, she turned to Georgia. And she said, Georgia, you can draw good. Would you draw our picture? Well, Georgia, She looked at the teacher and she smiled and she said, "I'm not half as good as Anne is, but I'll try." So it was decided. Well, all the rest of the day, Anne, she wanted to cry. And all the other sixth grade students looked at her like she was a traitor. She didn't know what to do. When the final bell rang, she rushed out the side door of the school so she wouldn't have to see any of the other students. Well, she ran down the street till she got to her house, and she ran up the stairs, and she threw herself on her bed. And while she was laying there on the bed, she thought of the very first time that she had been afraid. She had been asked to do a poem at a program, and she had memorized it. She knew it all. But when she got up front, after saying just part of it, it was like the words just flew out of her brain. She didn't know what to say. She had to rush off of that stage, and she was so embarrassed. She was so ashamed. And she thought, it's better not to try. Well, she lay there on her bed. Pretty soon, the door came slowly open, and Anne knew it was her mother, but she pretended, with her head in the pillow, that she didn't hear her. So the door went slowly shut again. Anne lay there till it was supper time. Then she went downstairs. She couldn't hardly eat. Then she looked at the Christmas tree and she thought, "Oh, I wish Christmas was over." And then she thought, "I've never wished that before. This is awful." Well, she went and sat in the living room like she did every night with her mom and dad. But she had nothing to say. She tried to think about what was in those packages and happy things, but she just couldn't. All she could think about is how she let her class down. Well, sometime the next day, Anna saw a whole group of the girls from the sixth grade going down the street. But then she thought, because they suddenly started to just rush down the street, she thought, they don't want to be with me. She knew that this was just going to be an awful day, all day long. Well, the next day, they had practiced, and Anne had stood there up on the stage with the other students, and Georgia had dutifully drawn a picture while the violin played and while Rhoda read the Christmas story. But she didn't get the picture done in time. But Jerry, to make it sound all right, he just kept playing like it was meant to be that way. And then the choir of sixth graders had started to sing Silent Night, and it was all fine. Well, that night was going to be the program. Anna, she so wished that the program was all over again. And then she thought about something that Rhoda had read. Rhoda had gotten to the part when the big shining angels had come up in the sky and the one glorious angel had come down, and the shepherds were just terrified. And the angel said, "Fear not." The shepherds had listened to the angel and thought, I wished somehow I had listened to the angel and had been willing to help my class. Maybe if I'd listened to the angel, I would have heard her say, "Fear not," and I wouldn't have been afraid. Well, it came time for her parents to go to the program, so they took Anne, and they got to the school right when they were supposed to. And the teacher said, "Okay, kids, let's see if we can run through it one more time." Well, the teacher looked around, and Georgia, who was supposed to draw that Christmas picture, she wasn't there. Well, they had to wait for her. But they waited, and they waited, and they waited. And the teacher was getting worried. Finally, they had to go ahead and start the program. Well, the 6th grade didn't have their part till the 3rd part. Well, right after the program started, another one of the teachers came rushing to their classroom, and she whispered some things to the teacher when she'd left. Miss Webb, she looked at the students and she said, "She told me that Georgia's parents had called. Their car's broken down, and they can't get here in time for the program. Now what shall we do?" Well then, Rhoda said, she went over to Anne and she pulled on her sleeve. She said, "Anne, you've got to help us. You can do it. I know you can." And several of the other girls came and said, "Oh, please, you draw a picture for the teacher every day, and it's beautiful. Please don't let us down. You can do it." Well, before Anne really had time to think about it, she was led to that stage. Somebody had already put the easel up front, and there was a board with the paper to draw the painting on. And sitting at the base of it was a frame, and there was a box of chalk. Well, Anne, she thought, I don't know. And then she remembered the angel saying, "Fear not." And she thought, I'm gonna listen to the angel this time. Well, soon Jerry picked up his violin and he started playing Silent Night, Holy Night. And as soon as he started, Rhoda started the Christmas story. The shepherds were in the fields. Then, very carefully, Anna picked up the first piece of chalk, and she thought, oh, Georgia always drew the shepherds and stuff, but I haven't practiced that. And you know, all week at home, she'd been drawing a picture of Mary and the Christ child in the manger for her mother's Christmas gift. And she thought, I can draw that. So quickly she started drawing the edges of Mary. She quickly drew out the baby. She picked up the brown and she started making the manger and putting the straw under the baby. Then she started drawing Mary's face, and she drew her hair and the covering over her head and her robe, and how she was kneeling in front of the Christ child. Then she could tell by the story that she needed to hurry. She had drawn in the stone walls of that manger, of the stable, and now she very carefully drew the open doorway of the stable. She drew in a window with the golden light shining through onto the mother and the baby. And just when the students stopped singing, Silent Night, Holy Night, she was able to put her chalk down, and she reached down and picked up the frame and hung it over the picture. She had done it. She had done it. She had listened to the angel. When she got back to the classroom, the students and Miss Webb were all waiting for her. Miss Webb, with tears in her eyes, said it was absolutely beautiful. And she said, but I wasn't able to make the shepherds like Georgia did. And Miss Webb said, you drew your own picture, and you're not afraid anymore, are you? And you know, Anne turned to the other 6th grade students, and she said, I listened to the angel when she said, fear not, just like the shepherds did. And they got to go see the Christ child. And I got to draw the picture of Mary in the manger. I'm not afraid anymore because I listened to the angel. With God and his angels' help, you don't have to be afraid of anything. Thank you, boys and girls, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.